Okay. Oh. Hi, Kikkan. Yes, awesome. I will bring you on in just a minute or two. I'm not bringing my A game today. In terms of the look here, hopefully everybody will be cool with that. We're just gonna let everybody get set. I'm making a joke here because last week in the dress rehearsal, a couple funny things happened. First, I made signs, not realizing that everything would be mirrored, so no one would be able to read my signs. So that's funny. And also, because everything was mirrored, I had a friend of mine say, "Where's that ski place behind you? Had to. I haven't heard of it." And I said, "Oh, that's Utah, just backwards." So there was a ton of fun that happened during the dress rehearsal last week, which included being 8 minutes late, having the backwards signs, hadn't and had to from Sarah as a name of the show vote was fantastic. And yeah, I learned a lot last week. I also learned that if you don't continue to scroll on the comments, basically, I thought like people weren't entering the giveaway that we had. So speaking of which, we're at 9 o'clock. I know we've got a bunch of people here. Sarah is laughing as to hadn't and had to. Again, it's just Utah backwards because everything's mirrored. Which brings me to, before I bring on today's guest, which I couldn't be more honored and excited to welcome because it's not my dog. It's like a real celebrity, which is super awesome. So I wanted to first explain through a backwards sign. First, what's No Time to Waste? What is this? Basically, long story short, you can read more about my story at notimetowasteproject.com. But after getting diagnosed with advanced breast cancer about 2 years ago, I realized I had to double down on my highly intentional way of living, which has always been super intense. And I was like, you know what? We need to start thinking as a society, confronting, even though it's super scary, the fact that we're not immortal. And it's there's a ton of research around death anxiety and terror management theory, and basically our systems short circuit for the most part when we start to think about the idea of death. And so we naturally just avoid the topic altogether. So what I talked about in my TED Talk back in February was really, how can we confront that really scary idea of death? And then how can we use that fear to maximize our moments every single day? Because the reality is this is all we've got, right? I could get run over by a bus tomorrow. You guys all could too. I hope that doesn't happen because that'd be awful, but it happens. And what I try and focus on is not death and the fear of death, but the opposite, right? And living like there's no time to waste, and taking every 24-hour period so that you focus on things like gratitude and human connection and relationships and joy. Because the research all says that the common regrets that people have when they're facing death are all pretty similar, and they're all around kind of not having lived every day like there's no time to waste. So that's what it is. A quick thing, so gratitude, human connection, and joy, not cancer. It's not necessarily about cancer. This is about living, not dying. This is supposed to be uplifting and motivating, not super depressing. And then what is this thing? So people have been like, "Oh, so excited for your podcast." And I'm like, it's not a podcast. What this is, and you can't read this because this was from last week when I didn't realize everything was mirrored. This is about interviews every week with just kick-ass people who are just carpeing the shit out of life and living like there's no time to waste. I promise a really fantastic ROI. I mean, it's early stages right now, as you all know from the corporate world, it's difficult to forecast when you're a startup, but I would say your investment of time, which is going to be 30 minutes today, you're going to get somewhere between a 3 and 5x return. I think last week with the dress rehearsal, I would say it was on the lower end, maybe 2 to 3, but I'm really optimistic about today, and it's going to be super real. It's going to be authentic. We're not going to edit stuff, basically, and free shit. So I'm going to talk about the giveaway in a second, which I'm super excited about because it's like a legit giveaway of $400 worth of super high-end gear from Rudy Project, thanks to Kikkan Randall, our guest. And bottom line, what is this not? It's not a podcast. The reason why it's not a podcast, okay, is because, one, I don't want the formalities of a podcast. Like, I don't want it to be like fancy. 2, I don't want the expectations technically wise of a podcast. And 3, most importantly, I don't want to do the work. This is a lot easier, right? Just press live, boom, you're done. I record it, I post it, awesome. So without further ado, I am so honored and excited to bring on a real live celebrity who's not just this paper. I'm going to have her join in 1 second. Kikkan Randall is a 5-time Olympian and essentially a cross-country ski legend. I was introduced to her back in the Olympics in 2018, the Winter Olympics, where she and her teammate Jessie Diggins won the first medal for Americans in the sport of cross-country skiing, because like those Nordic countries, they're obsessed with it and they're always the ones that win. These guys brought home the first gold for the US in what was one of the most dramatic photo finishes in the team sprint. That was like a fantastic example of why sports rule. Go sports. A few months after though winning the gold medal, Kikkan was diagnosed with breast cancer, and always an advocate of, and still a working advocate of, exercise and physical activity integrated into cancer treatment, which I believe in as well. She freaking walked the walk, and let's just say, here's a great example of Kikkan in the gym during chemo. Look at this beast mode. And then she's like, yeah, look at that. So this chick is just, I mean, she's badass. And not only is she just a fantastic athlete, a fantastic advocate, she's also a wife and a mom, and just an overall fantastic human being. So I'm going to bring her on right now and ask her a couple questions. I want you guys to think about your questions as well. I am going to do this. Kikkan Animal, which was her Kikkan Animal, that was her nickname in high school. You should see the pictures of her in high school. There she is!
Hello!
Everybody! This is so exciting. Kikkan, thanks for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Friday, right? So yeah, I just gave you kind of like a little intro. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you're like, why didn't you talk about this? Or like, why didn't you, that this is an important part of my personality. You and I talked about yesterday, you know, how we don't want cancer, right, to be what defines us. We're a lot of different things, and cancer is part of our journey. Is there anything though that I missed in your intro that you would like to make sure people know?
Well, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
The only other, I would say, kind of piece of what I do is I've been the president of Fast and Female USA, which is a organization dedicated to trying to keep girls involved in sports. That's a project I do with one of my best friends, who used to also be one of my biggest competitors in sprints. But we do that together to try to keep girls in sports. And then I actually do a lot of work within the International Olympic Committee, representing athletes and trying to keep sports a positive force in the world for generations to come. So, you know, between all the little things that I do, I'm always on my toes.
And then I was bragging to my partner last night. I was like, did you know that I think she is the only American athlete who sits on the International Olympic Committee? Is that correct?
Well, technically, Anita de France is on the executive board, and she was an athlete in 80 and 84, rower. But I'm the only current American athlete that sits on the IOC Athletes Commission.
Yeah, I love that, right? Because to me, that just speaks a lot to you being not only a fantastic athlete on the course or on the field or wherever you are, but you're an advocate, you're intelligent, you are someone that can represent the other athletes and the country.
to make sure that we're represented in those conversations. And to me, I'm just like, that's fantastic. So awesome. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts recently that have interviewed you, and a lot of people talk about, obviously sort of your rise and how you got into cross country skiing. And I love hearing the fact that you were, I think 9 and your parents threw you into it and you didn't love it right away. But you eventually sort of grew to love it. My question for you that I can't I can't stop thinking about, probably because selfishly I want to know, is how to like get some of your juice. Where do you think that grit and that resilience, right, that carried you through sport, but then obviously carried you through that diagnosis and treatment, where do you think it came? Where did it come from?
It's a great question. I have 2 siblings, and we've all turned out a little bit different. So it's fun to like look back and go, why did Kikkan become the way she is? Why did the other 2 turn out just, the way they are? I think there is a little bit that just must be like innate, like just must have been some sort of, the genetic material and the way my brain works. But I think I also had really good encouragement as a kid to try things, just to be okay with struggling a little bit, to be okay with failure, but to get up and try again. My dad was really good at encouraging me. I remember like being 4 years old and being timid to go off the diving board. And, he told me to try it. He said, come on, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then he told me if I did it, I got a Reese's peanut butter cup. So
Nice.
then all of a sudden that like part of like, oh yeah, I can struggle. I can work hard because there's a reward on the other end. I think that's always been a really good cycle for me. So the other really good thing my parents both did is they said, they encouraged me to try lots of different things, like cross-country skiing early on. I didn't love it at first. And so I whined and complained, and they said, well, you've committed to it for the season. So you've got to go to practice. You've got to do it. But at the end of the season, once you've fulfilled your commitment, if you want to shift gears and go try something else, you're welcome to do that. Right. So it was perfect because, they didn't let me just like move away the moment it wasn't fun. Right. But they didn't like stick me in something that I just wasn't going to be happy in. And I think because I got to drive that, I developed a lot of different skills along the way. And I also just started to learn that not every single moment is fun sometimes, but it's those little moments that add up that make the really fun moments, because you see yourself improve. If you're on a team, you're working together on these team goals, and maybe you win that game, and that's just such a great feeling. Yeah. And you can only get that if you're willing to put in the hard work and you're willing to go through some of those kind of tougher moments.
Yeah. So speaking of tougher moments, right, you have this, what I would expect to be like pretty much a high point of your career, right? The photo finish, I remember watching it, and I was not a cross country ski fan. I am a downhill snowboarder. I would like to take the lift up. I would like to have snacks. And then I would like to cruise down really fast, listening to music. And that's like my idea of a great day on the mountain. But I was not even a fan, but obviously loving the Olympics and loving sports. And I remember watching that photo finish. I will post when we're finished a good link or something so that people can just see it, because it was incredible. It was incredible. It was just an incredible moment of sport to watch, and to know that you were part of that process. You win gold. Like it's a crazy onslaught of press and media, and I'm sure you're on top of the world. And then 3 months later, right, you get this diagnosis. You seem like you have a positivity and an optimism about you that is borderline, like almost unrealistic. Were there moments like what was that like when you got diagnosed, and how did that grit and resilience that you took on a ski course apply there? And did you have any bad days? Do you have any bad days?
Yeah, it's a really, I would say, an interesting phenomenon on what went on in my head when I got that news, because on one hand, I couldn't believe it. It was just like, I've done everything right. I feel incredible. I'm in the shape of my life. Like, this is not part of the plan. This is supposed to be when this fresh start, moving from skiing to family stuff. Yep. And then there was just a lot of frustration of like, this isn't fair, like, no, I just worked so hard, and this is supposed to be my moment to just enjoy it. But it's very human to process all those emotions, but it was amazing how that athlete in my mind just kind of kept like catching those thoughts and then kind of going, yeah, but it's real. Yeah, it doesn't matter that you did all the right things, like, but you are strong. So let's figure out what you have to do. And I have to say, like, my family right there, my 2-year-old son, my husband and my mom was actually visiting when I got the news. All that was like, okay, I need to do whatever I need to do to give myself the best chance here. And, let's talk to the doctors. What are they saying? Okay, there is treatment. Like, let's dive into that. Yes, it's going to be hard, but this is going to be just like a grueling training plan. There's no guarantee of what's going to happen, just like there's no guarantee you're going to win that gold medal.
Right.
So I just kept making all these connections to my athletic career and using kind of what I'd been through in the past to give me the confidence that I could get through this, knowing that this time I would have a lot less control, knowing that I couldn't just like outwork or outwill this challenge. I was just going to have to do the best with what I could and stay hopeful and stay optimistic. And for the most part, I did. I kept myself busy. Like I got really into like lining up my treatment plan and building my medical team and, like, let's do it, and like I literally made this roadmap of like, okay, 6 rounds of chemo and then we're into surgery and then we're into radiation. And I was like checking off the days, like, very structure oriented. But then time moves slowly. You're in the middle of treatment. It hits you. You don't know, you're never experienced anything like this before. And so there were days when I let myself, really think about how uncomfortable I was, think about the possible outcomes and, let the fear start to swell up. And in those moments, like if I couldn't catch it and kind of reframe it, that's where like having the right people around me was really helpful, because the people around me were really good about like catching that and saying, yeah, but that's not necessarily going to be the case. Okay, we know this is tough, but it's going to get better. Doing things to kind of just distract myself. And then wearing colorful socks. It actually started as a pair of running shoes that Instagram tricked me into buying. A few weeks before the Olympics, when I was actually dealing with a stress fracture in my foot. Nothing compared to cancer, but at the time seemed like the end of the world, that here I had this injury and we were coming into the Olympics. Yep. So I ordered these rainbow colored running shoes and then kind of had forgotten about it, got home, found them in the mail. So when I started going to my medical appointments, I'm like, dang it, I'm wearing my rainbow shoes, because I need to remind myself to stay hopeful, to stay focused and, and make the most of the moment. And so I was wearing these shoes. It was helping me stay positive. Like the doctors and the nurses were commenting, other patients were commenting. So then that gave my husband and I the idea of like, well, maybe we could come up with something that could help other people going through something tough. We figured shoes would be a little hard to manufacture, so we settled on socks. And we actually worked with Bean, which has been a longtime partner of mine. They couldn't do the socks and the turnaround we needed, so they introduced me to Darn Tough in Vermont. And they were great. They loved the idea. So we came out with this It's Going to Be Okay sock. We went through a few versions and I kept saying, no, happier, more color, more color. And we came out with a really fun, happy sock. And Jeff and I found that we kept saying to each other, it's going to be okay. Just that hopeful message. And so we put that on the sock, and then we actually made the K in the okay, the Kikkan K. And then we decided that we would sell these through my website, and we would donate $2 from every pair we sold to Active Against Cancer, which is an organization that's dedicated to studying the link between physical activity and outcomes and treatment, and ultimately trying to get physical activity as a prescriptive part of treatment. And I had ironically gotten involved with them long before I ever knew I would have a personal connection to cancer. So when I got my diagnosis, it was like, okay, now I believe in this more than ever. And so it was great to be able to do the sock project, help build some money towards that, but then also put these socks out there that could help people through, any challenge, I like to say, whether you're going for a big goal or you're going through something tough, these socks can just be that reminder to stay positive and stay hopeful.
I'm not a big rainbow person, but you and I talked yesterday, and I literally was like, all right, like I have to get the socks. I got to get the socks, right? So I will get the socks, and I'll think of you, and I'll think of those stories. For anybody that's listening, one, hold on, because, in about 10, 15 minutes, before the end of the 30 minutes, we are going to be giving away $400 worth of Rudy Project swag, a freaking sweet cycling helmet, and shades that were graciously donated by Kikkan, which we're super stoked about. So we're going to give that away at the end. But if you are interested in the socks and you're like, that's a really sweet idea. And again, the fact that $2 of every pair of socks goes back to causes that Kikkan and I feel really passionate about, like Active Against Cancer, like I know you recently switched to be able to donate it to COVID relief. And, you know, basically you're giving the money back to the causes that you want to support. Go to kikkan.com. So KIKKAN.com. You'll see that there's a shop button, and go there and support it, because you're not just supporting Kikkan, you are supporting the causes that both she and I really want to support. So I want to make sure that we get to some questions. So everybody start thinking about your questions in a second. The last question that I really have for you, Kikkan, is, you know, you've heard me talk about no time to waste, and, you know, we've gotten to know each other, and, you know, focusing on, you know, I talked about what it means to me. I felt like you were someone that I've watched from afar for the last 2 years since I got diagnosed, and said, man, she's doing it, right? She is the embodiment of the brand that I'm trying to create, and the movement and the project of No Time to Waste. What does it mean to you to like live every day like there's no time to waste?
Well, I think that is probably one of the biggest silver linings that's come out of my cancer experience so far, is just this shift in mindset of really just how precious life is, how precarious it is, and how, yeah, you just don't know what the future holds. You know, you can be an Olympic gold medalist, and, you know, 2 seconds later, you realize you're not invincible. So what that made me realize was that, okay, if I can't be sure how much time I have, I better make the most of what I have right in front of me. And, you know, really evaluating what is so important. And, you know, my family, first and foremost, like my son Breck has just been the best joy through this. I've gotten to, I think, spend more time with him and more time at home, watching him grow and develop, and just really pouring myself into that relationship. And then, you know, rebuilding relationships that have maybe kind of starting to, you know, gotten lost in the fringes when things get busy, but really like getting back in touch with people that mean the most. And then, you know, I realize that as an athlete, I get to have this platform to go out and inspire people, to help them through challenges, to help them dream big, you know, whether it's kids in sports or now people going through cancer. You know, it's an experience we can relate. And so I spent a lot of time on the road last year, getting out and speaking and meeting people. And, you know, it was busy. It was a crazy schedule. But all those times that I got to like make an impact were really cool. And then, you know, I love doing athletic challenges as well. And I'd always wanted to run a marathon. So I thought I was going to run.
Here it comes. Going to make all of us feel really bad.
The New York Marathon in fall of 2018 before I got my diagnosis. Then when I did get my diagnosis, I have to admit I still considered it. I was like, yeah, I could totally run a marathon. But then after a few rounds of chemo, I realized that it was actually taking a hit on my body. And just because you can,
wait, hold on. Chemo took a hit on your body?
Yeah, I'll have to say that the day I did that photo shoot, I felt so miserable. But I was able to they put on a lot of makeup, and I was able to put on a good smile.
Well, it worked, because literally I've had this up here all week, just being like, if she can do that, I can do anything. So, okay, sorry, tell me, keep going.
So anyways, yeah, so I talked myself out of trying to do the marathon in 2018, which would have been about 2 weeks after I finished chemo. I think that was a good plan. You know, I think the body needed to rest, and you got to respect that. But anyways, it was really good to have that goal then a year later, when I knew I had finished treatment, and I spent like 8 months building up to it. I got back in touch with my high school running coach. He made a training plan for me. I was doing it while I was on the road traveling. I was on cruise ships a bunch last summer speaking. And so I was doing my 2-hour runs around the deck, which takes about 45 seconds per lap. So, you know, most people will be like, how could you run around a deck for 2 hours? But I was just like, you know what? I get to be out here. You know, I feel good. I get to be out here. I know this is building towards a fun goal. So I put in the workouts. I would say 90% of the time it did not feel great. I really wondered what I'd gotten myself into. But come race day, I got out there. It was 5 a.m. We're across the bridge at the start. I've got two of my like best friends who are also Olympic teammates of mine, and we ran the race with 50,000 people, and we paced it really well. And it was hard, but I met my goal time, and it
What was
just
your finishing time, Kikkan?
2:55.
Get out of here. You're crazy. I followed all of that, and I remember being like, what a, you know, Kik Animal, right? That was your high school nickname, because this has been here for a long, long time. It's not new. But I mean, kudos to you. And again, you know, in facing my next chapter here, like, I think about you, and it inspires me to be like, if she can do that, I mean, I'm not an Olympic athlete, so like, you know, maybe we lower the bar like a little bit.
Yeah, it's all
But right,
relative.
it's all relative. But like, once I get the socks, because I feel like number one is like magic socks, and if you're just joining right now, I encourage you to go to Kikkan, KIKKAN.com, go to shop, and support the charities that she wants to support, that I support, and buy a pair of It's Going to Be Okay socks, which is super exciting. I want to make sure we've got some time. We've got some big fans of yours who, now that I know how to actually scroll down and see the comments, which is not what I did last weekend, which is why I thought nobody was paying attention. Before we do the giveaways, I want to open it up for questions. So does anybody have a question for Kikkan? Again, we're getting some really, really fantastic feedback here. This is your chance to get Kikkan live. And I don't know if you can see, Kikkan, the questions. Who's got a question for Kikkan?
I can, and I think I'm seeing the most current at the bottom, so.
Okay. It sounds like somebody here, Sophie just said that basically you're her idol, and that her grandma had cancer and she got her your socks and she healed, which is awesome. So I'm going to have to go get those socks as well. If anybody else has a question, I just want to make sure that I can see it. I'm going to scroll because I think we had some earlier. While we wait, because again, this is your chance, guys. While we wait for a question, why don't we do a giveaway here? So the first giveaway is going to be I wrote it down. It's the Rudy Project. First, we're going to do the glasses, which are tight. I guess it would be kind of, illegal or like unethical for me to just give them to myself, because I would like them. But they are Rudy Project Spin Hawk slim glasses. They've got a retail value of $150. This is legit. I'm seeing people have already ordered 5 pairs of the socks since we've talked about it, which is super cool. But in giving away these first goggles, these Rudy Project Spin Hawk slim glasses, they are sweet. They were on No Time to Waste Project's Instagram. The first person that right now puts in the hashtag, it's going to be okay, which is the Kikkan hashtag. So we got to put in hashtag, it's going to be okay. The first person that does that is going to get $150 pair of Rudy Project glasses. We've got a bunch of people who are excited. We need to see the first person to put hashtag, there it is. So S. Stevenson won. Congratulations. You just won a $150 pair of Rudy Project shades, again, which I wanted to secretly steal. Definitely. Nope. Other people are late now. S. Stevenson won. DM me at No Time to Waste Project after, and we'll make sure that we get those shipped out to you. We are going to give away a $250 helmet in just a couple minutes. Got a question here from Matt, who said, Kikkan, what have you learned from all your experiences in the Olympics?
Well, we could spend hours talking about that. But I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that all the best things in my career came after something hard. And so now when I go through something hard, I remind myself of that. And, just knowing that I've been through it before does help, when I am facing something new. With the Olympic gold medal, like in my first Olympics in Salt Lake City, I finished 44th place, like not even an honorable mention. I mean, no American woman had ever even cracked the top 10 at the Olympics. So to be there thinking about trying to win a medal someday, it was almost unimaginable. But at the same time, like I knew it was something that I was excited about, something that, you know, why not? And so then I sat down with the coaches and figured out, okay, if that's what I want, how do I get there? What's the roadmap? And we figured out kind of all the steps I would need to take. And once we mapped it out, it was going to take at least 10 years. And at 19 years old, that was daunting. Like, what, 10 years? But at the same time, it was like, okay, I can see it. I can see how if I do this and then I do this and then I do this, it's going to build up and I can get there. And so now I try to kind of do the same thing. You know, when I'm facing something now, whether it's an athletic goal or like actually I just got excited. I'm going to pursue a career in accounting now because I really like spreadsheets.
That's great.
And,
I need someone to like do my books. So this is great.
Exactly. So then I figured out like, okay, if I want to be a CPA someday, how do I get there? And then I had to like break it down and like, it's going to take me 5 years to get where I want to go. But hey, I got a roadmap now and I'm ticking off one piece at a time. And I know there's going to be some times when I'm in the midst of a problem and the numbers aren't making sense, but you just got to stay committed because then you break through and you figure it out. And it's such a great feeling.
I love that.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest things I learned.
That's awesome. You know, that athlete mindset, I just had an interview yesterday for a podcast called Career Competitor, and it's basically applying an athlete's mindset to business and career and work, and realizing that, you know, when it's just part of your DNA, for some people that may not have been able to pull or find that strength inside, like you talk about, and, you know, having tactical things that you can do to kind of strengthen that muscle of confidence, right? So that when you do face your next stuff, you can go, okay, wait, let me look back on all the things that I've gotten through. And man, if I could get through that, I can get through this, right? And if it gets tougher, it's like, well, I got through that. And then being able to just, you know, I do the same thing, write the plan, put it down, get the calendar out. So that's awesome. We've got more questions now. I don't want to go late. I want to get really good about sticking to the time here, because I know it's valuable. We're getting great feedback from people. I have not figured out how to save the video so that we actually save the comments in it, but maybe we'll figure that out next time. So without further ado, I want to do our final giveaway. Get ready, everybody. We're going to be giving away right now a Rudy Project Sterling cycling helmet. It is a $250 retail value. It is thank you to Kikkan for donating these from her sponsors. So the first person right now to put in hashtag no time to waste is going to get a Rudy Project helmet for all of your cycling needs. It's a badass helmet. This is not, you can cruise around town in it if you want, but like you also could like go train for your first Ironman. So first person to put in hashtag no time to waste. There it is. So Woody Mawini is going to be getting a $250 helmet. Woody, make sure that you DM me. We will get that out to you ASAP so you can start training for your next race or get into cycling for the first time. I want to encourage people to follow Kikkan, which I will make sure that I put on after this. Go to kikkan.com, go to shop, buy her socks. Hashtag it's going to be okay, because $2 from every pair is going to go to some fantastic charities. Kikkan, thank you so much for spending the time today. You are just a total inspiration, also a badass, and you know, I'm just really honored that you took the time to chat today.
Well, thanks. I mean, the other thing I think that is so motivating to me is to see other people that you can relate to and build. And I will throw all the compliments right back at you. It's been really impressive to see what you've done with this project and your positive attitude through all this. So I'm excited it's been fun to be able to do these things together, and I'm excited for what we can continue to do together. And same for all of you out there, you know, join in and help us make the most of life.
Yeah, right. So go out there, as I say, carpe the shit out of life, whatever that means to you. Live and love like there's no time to waste, because today's all we've got. Have a great day, guys. Thank you again, Kikkan. And I will see you guys here next week. Bye.
All right. Thanks, guys.